Get that black maid out of here. This is private family business. Inside Harrison Thornton's study, the white lawyer pointed at Beverly Nash. The billionaire had died 6 days ago. This was the will reading at his Connecticut mansion. Beverly was 52, black and deaf, the family housekeeper for 18 years. She'd been polishing silver when lawyers arrived. She left the room but watched through the door. Victoria Thornton, the billionaire's only daughter, sat at her father's desk. A lawyer opened a laptop. Harrison's dying face appeared on screen. 30 minutes to watch this video, the lawyer said. Answer 5 questions correctly or forfeit your $4 billion inheritance. Victoria was deaf. The video had no subtitles. She stared at her father's lips moving but couldn't understand him. 29 minutes left. She was failing. Beverly stood in the hallway where black maids belonged. She could read every word Harrison was saying. The rich white daughter couldn't hear her father. The black maid ignored for 18 years could save everything. 18 years ago, Eleanor Thornton hired Beverly with a promise written on a yellow legal pad. Welcome, Beverly. You're not just hired help, you're family. Beverly knew better. She'd worked for rich families before. She understood what family meant in houses like this. Work hard, stay quiet, don't expect gratitude. The Thornton estate sprawled across 4 acres in Greenwich. 14,000 square feet of marble floors and vaulted ceilings and rooms larger than most people's entire homes. Beverly's quarters occupied the 3rd floor, a converted servant's room, 180 square feet. Smaller than the walk-in closet in Victoria's bedroom, smaller than the pantry. Just big enough for a bed and a woman who'd learned to make herself small. Eleanor had been kind, at least. She learned basic ASL, had coffee with Beverly on Sunday mornings. Asked about Beverly's mother back in Jackson, Mississippi. Sent an extra $200 a month so Beverly could help with Dorothy's medical bills. But Eleanor died in January of 2013. Ice on the Merritt Parkway. Gone at 51. Beverly cried for 3 days. At the funeral, she stood in back with the caterers. Not family. Just there. That's when the real invisibility began. Harrison Thornton was a decent man. Polite. Professional. He communicated through sticky notes left on the kitchen counter. Please clean study by 2 p.m. Water plants in solarium. $28,000 a year plus room and board. No vacation days. No health insurance beyond a catastrophic plan with a $10,000 deductible. Beverly never complained. Where else would she go? This was home, even if it wasn't really home. And Victoria. Sweet Victoria, who'd been 11 years old when Beverly arrived, now 29, 18 years of living in the same house. Victoria knew Beverly cleaned her room, washed her clothes, made her breakfast. Victoria didn't know Beverly's birthday, or her hometown, or whether she had family. After 18 years, Victoria still called her the housekeeper. Not out of cruelty, out of blindness. The kind of blindness that comes from having everything you need and never having to wonder who provides it. What nobody knew in all those years was that Beverly could read lips. Not just read them, master them. 35 years of practice. Started at 17 in Jackson when the only deaf school was 3 hours away and her mother couldn't afford the gas. Beverly taught herself by watching television with the sound off, matching words to mouth shapes, memorizing patterns until her accuracy hit 90%. In September of 2007, 3 months after she started at the estate, Beverly was dusting Harrison's study when he took a phone call. She kept working. Quiet, invisible. Harrison faced away from her, looking out the window at the pool. Tell the board we're moving the IPO to Q3. Market conditions aren't favorable. This is confidential. If this leaks, we'll have SEC problems. Beverly read every word in the reflection of the window glass. Harrison assumed deaf meant can't understand. He'd been raised in a generation that didn't know better. So he talked freely, business secrets, family tensions, private fears, and Beverly kept every single one. She could have destroyed the Thornton empire 1,000 times over. Insider trading information, shady business deals, arguments about Victoria's trust fund, 18 years of ammunition. She never used a word of it, because Eleanor had trusted her. And that trust, to Beverly, was worth more than anything Harrison could pay her. But she listened, she witnessed, she remembered. In October of 2024, 6 months before Harrison died, he discovered Beverly's ability by accident. He was talking to Gregory Matthews about changing his will. Beverly was dusting bookshelves 8 feet away, back turned. Harrison said, "I want to add a codicil about Victoria, something that will test whether she's learned to ask for help." Beverly nodded unconsciously. A reflex. Harrison stopped mid-sentence, turned, looked at her. "Beverly," he said clearly, facing her directly, "could you hand me that book? The red one, 3rd shelf." Beverly walked straight to the 3rd shelf, picked up the red book without hesitation, handed it to him. Harrison stared. "You understood me. I didn't sign, and you understood." Beverly froze, caught. She signed, "Yes, Mr. Harrison. I read lips. I've always been able to." "How long have you been understanding our conversations?" 18 years, since I started working here." Long silence. "You never told us?" "You never asked, sir. And if I told you, you might send me away when you had important conversations. I needed the work." Harrison leaned back in his leather chair, the one he'd die in 4 months later. "You've been invisible in this house for 18 years. "Yes, sir." "And you never betrayed a confidence?" "No, sir. Mrs. Eleanor trusted me." Harrison's voice went soft, tired. "Eleanor knew? That you could read lips?" "Yes, sir. She said it was good, that I could understand Victoria better if I understood what people said about her." Harrison looked away, out the window, at nothing. Then he said, "Beverly, I need to ask you something. If I leave a video message for Victoria with no subtitles and she can't understand it, would you help her?" Beverly hesitated. "Mr. Harrison, I'm just the housekeeper. That's a family matter. Would you help her? Yes or no?" Beverly thought of Eleanor, of the promise, of 18 years of being invisible. "Yes," she signed, "if she asked me to." Harrison nodded slowly. "Thank you. That's all I needed to know." Now Beverly stood in the morning room, silver tea service half polished on the mahogany table. Through the door gap, she could see Victoria in Harrison's study, crying, shaking her head. The video played on. Harrison's lips moved. Beverly understood every word. Victoria understood almost nothing. 26 minutes left. The video had been playing for 3 minutes when Victoria stood up and walked to the screen, close enough to touch it. Her father's face, larger than life, filled with shadows and pain. Harrison's mouth moved, slow, deliberate. He was saying something about being afraid, about failing, words Victoria had waited 29 years to hear. She caught fragments. Afraid of, something, in front of, something else, not sentences, not meaning, just broken pieces of a message she'd never complete. She stepped back, sat down, hands trembling so hard she couldn't form clear signs. Gregory Matthews cleared his throat. "Miss Thornton, you have 25 minutes remaining." Jennifer Cooper, the second attorney, leaned forward. "Victoria, we can petition the court. This codicil may violate ADA provisions. We could argue?" Victoria's hands cut through the air, sharp, angry. Jennifer translated for Gregory. "She says no. If her father wanted this, there must be a reason." But Victoria's face told a different story. She didn't look determined. She looked shattered. On the screen, Harrison kept talking. A full minute of continuous speech. Something about building an empire, about relationships, about realizing something too late. Victoria watched his lips, caught maybe 15 words out of 200. "I can't," she signed. "I'm failing him. Again." "Miss Thornton," Gregory said carefully, "at this rate of comprehension, you will not be able to answer the required questions at the end of the video. I'm legally obligated to inform you of that fact." "I know," Victoria signed, "but I have to try." Another minute passed. Then another. Harrison's face on the screen looked directly at the camera, directly at his daughter. His lips formed words she'd never hear. Victoria's shoulders started shaking, silent sobs. Jennifer whispered to Gregory, "This is cruel. He was dying. Maybe the cancer affected his judgment." Dr. Mitchell certified him competent 2 days before he signed the codicil. Gregory whispered back, "Mini mental state exam, perfect score. He knew exactly what he was doing." "Then what was he doing? Setting his daughter up to fail?" "I don't know." On screen, Harrison paused, took a sip of water from a plastic hospital cup. His hand shook. The cup rattled against his teeth. Victoria watched this, her father, dying, trying to tell her something, and she couldn't understand. 3 minutes and 12 seconds into the video, Victoria signed to Gregory. "Pause it. Please, just pause it. Gregory hit pause on the remote. Harrison's face froze mid-sentence, mouth slightly open, eyes looking somewhere past the camera, past everything. Victoria put her head in her hands. 24 minutes remaining, Gregory said quietly. I know. 9 minutes of video left. I know. If we don't continue soon, you won't have time to answer the questions, even if you understand everything from this point forward. I know. Victoria's hands moved violently. I know I'm going to fail. I know I'm going to lose everything. I know I'm never going to understand what my father wanted to tell me. I know! Silence filled the study. Jennifer started to say something, stopped. Gregory checked his watch again. The second hand ticked, loud in the quiet. Victoria lifted her head, looked at the frozen image of her father. He looks so thin, she signed. I didn't see him the last 3 days. The hospice nurses said he needed rest. I should have insisted. I should have. She didn't finish. In the morning room, Beverly's hands tightened on the silver polish cloth. She'd been invisible for 18 years. This wasn't her place. These were rich people's problems, family matters that had nothing to do with a housekeeper who earned $28,000 a year and lived in a room the size of a closet. But she could hear what Harrison was saying in that video. Every word, every pause, every desperate attempt to communicate with a daughter he'd failed for 29 years. And she could see Victoria breaking apart in real time, Eleanor's voice from years ago. Beverly, you understand my daughter in ways we never can. Beverly dropped the silver polish cloth. It hit the hardwood floor with a soft thump. Nobody in the study heard it. Hearing people don't notice small sounds from other rooms. But Beverly felt the vibration through her feet. She stood up, walked to the study door, raised her hand, knocked 3 times. Everyone turned. Beverly pushed the door open, stepped into the room. For the first time in 18 years, she entered Harrison's study during a family meeting uninvited. Victoria looked up, confused, surprised. Maybe the 10th time in 18 years that Victoria had really looked at Beverly's face. Beverly signed slowly, clearly. I can help. I understood everything he said, all 3 minutes, every word. Gregory Matthews blinked. I'm sorry. Who are you? Beverly kept her hands moving. Steady, clear, Jennifer Cooper translated automatically. I'm Beverly Nash. I work here. I clean this study every morning. Victoria's mouth opened slightly. Her hands stayed frozen mid-sign. You understood the video? Gregory asked. From where? You weren't in the room. Beverly pointed to the morning room door, still ajar, 8 inches. From there, 20 feet away. I can read lips. I've been reading lips for 35 years. Jennifer's professional skepticism kicked in. You read his lips through a door gap from 20 feet, with that camera angle and lighting? Yes, ma'am. That's not possible. The angle is suboptimal. The shadows across his face. Harrison's condition affecting his articulation. Beverly interrupted with steady hands. In the last 3 minutes, Mr. Harrison said, Victoria, if you're watching this, I need you to know something I should have told you 29 years ago. I was afraid of failing at something in front of you, so I built an empire instead of building a relationship. And I realized I built an empire but forgot to build a relationship with the person who mattered most. Should I continue? The room went dead silent. Gregory's hands moved to his briefcase. Slowly. He pulled out a sealed manila envelope. The one Harrison had given him 6 weeks ago with specific instructions. Open only if there's a question about the video content. He broke the seal, pulled out 3 typed pages, read the first paragraph, looked up at Beverly. That's word for word, he said, exactly what Harrison said. I'm looking at the transcript he prepared. Victoria's hands started moving, frantic. You understood all of that? You were in the next room? Yes, Miss Victoria. How? How is that possible? Beverly's answer came patient, practiced. I've been reading lips since I was 17. When you can't hear, you learn to watch, really watch. I see the shape of the mouth, the movement of the tongue, the tension in the jaw. I've been doing it so long I don't even think about it anymore. You've been here 18 years, Victoria signed. Her hands shook. Have you been understanding our conversations this whole time? Beverly met her eyes. Honest. Yes, I thought you knew. I thought everyone knew. No one knew, Gregory said quietly. Harrison only discovered it 6 months ago. Beverly nodded. October 15th, 3:45 p.m. He was talking to you about changing his will. I was dusting bookshelves. He said something about a codicil. I nodded without thinking. He noticed. Gregory flipped through his legal pad. Found the date, October 15th. His handwriting. Notes from that exact meeting. He looked at Beverly with new eyes. You've been the witness to this family for 18 years. I've been the housekeeper for 18 years, sir. No, Gregory said slowly. You've been much more than that. Victoria stood up, walked toward Beverly, stopped 3 feet away. They'd lived in the same house for 18 years. This was probably the closest they'd ever stood. Can you help me? Victoria's hands moved with desperate hope. Can you tell me what he's saying in the rest of the video? Yes. Will you? Beverly paused, looked at Victoria, really looked at her. This young woman who'd walked past her 10,000 times in 18 years without asking her name. Yes, Beverly signed. But we need to hurry. 23 minutes left. Gregory stood. Miss Thornton, if you accept Miss Nash's assistance, this constitutes comprehension via assistive interpretation. The codicil explicitly permits this under the phrase, by any means available. However, we'll need to restart the video from the beginning. The rules allow one restart only. Victoria turned to Beverly. You'd have to translate the whole thing, 12 minutes. Can you do that? Beverly thought about Eleanor, about 18 years of invisible loyalty, about a promise made to a dead woman who'd been the only person in this house to see her as human. Yes, she signed. I can do that. Why? Victoria asked. The question hung in the air, raw. Why would you help me? we've never really... She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Beverly's hands moved gentle. Mrs. Eleanor hired me because I was deaf, like you. She said you needed to see someone like yourself in this house. I think she knew that someday you might need me for something more than clean laundry. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I don't even know your birthday, she signed. June 9th, Beverly signed back. I don't know where you're from. Jackson, Mississippi. I don't know if you have family. I had a mother, Dorothy. She passed 8 years ago. I'm sorry. Victoria signed, and meant it. I should have asked. We don't have time for should-haves, Beverly interrupted gently. We have 22 minutes. Your father left you a message. Let me help you hear it. Victoria nodded, wiped her eyes. Gregory positioned the video back to 00. This is your one restart, Miss Thornton. After this, no rewinds, no pauses except for technical failure. Miss Nash, please position yourself where you can see the screen clearly. Beverly walked into the study, past the leather furniture that cost more than she made in a year, past the mahogany desk that had been in the Thornton family for 3 generations, past 18 years of invisible mornings cleaning this exact room. She stood beside Victoria's chair, hands ready. Play it, Victoria signed. The screen lit up. 00. Harrison's face appeared. Beverly's hands started moving before he'd finished his first word, and for the first time in 29 years, Victoria Thornton heard her father's voice. Harrison's lips moved on the 85-inch screen. Beverly's hands moved in the air beside Victoria. Victoria, if you're watching this, I need you to know something I should have told you 29 years ago. Victoria's eyes locked on Beverly's hands, not on the screen, on the hands that were giving her father a voice. I was afraid of failing at something in front of you. Beverly's facial expressions shifted with the signs. Sadness, regret. The grammar of ASL requires the face to carry emotion. Beverly wasn't just translating words, she was translating feeling. So I built an empire instead of building a relationship. Harrison on screen paused to drink water. His hand shook. The plastic cup rattled against his teeth. He grimaced, swallowed, continued. Beverly's hands never stopped. She filled the pause with context. He's drinking. His hands are shaking. The cup is plastic. Hospital issue. Victoria nodded, watched Beverly's hands, absorbed every detail. And I realized I built an empire but forgot to build a relationship with the person who mattered most. Victoria's breath caught. Her own hands moved. He's talking about me. Beverly nodded, kept signing as Harrison continued. Your mother understood you in ways I never did. Eleanor learned ASL in 6 months. I've had 29 years. I started learning 8 months ago. On screen, Harrison held up a spiral notebook. The camera focused just enough to show the cover. ASL vocabulary, Day 1 inch written in Harrison's distinctive block letters. Beverly signed this detail. He's showing a notebook. ASL practice, day 1. I made it to day 15, Harrison said through Beverly's hands. Then the peripheral neuropathy started. The chemotherapy. My hands shook too much to sign clearly. Harrison's face on screen crumpled slightly. Recovered. I was failing at the one thing I needed most. Again. Victoria's tears started, silent, streaming. Beverly kept signing, steady, professional, but her own eyes glistened. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me, Harrison continued. I don't deserve that. What I'm going to ask is harder. He leaned forward in the hospital chair, closer to the camera, his eyes looking directly into the lens, directly at his daughter. I'm going to ask you to do what I never did. I'm going to ask you to see the people around you. Really see them. Beverly's hands trembled slightly on the word see. Kept going. The person helping you right now translating this, do you know their name? Victoria's hands flew to her mouth, looked at Beverly, back at the screen. Do you know where they're from? Do you know if they have family? Do you know what they dream about? On screen, Harrison coughed, muted the microphone for a moment, composed himself, unmuted. I didn't know those things about Beverly Nash for 17.5 years. She worked in my house every day, made my coffee, cleaned my study, and I didn't know her birthday. Victoria turned to Beverly, mouthed the word June 9th. Beverly nodded. Harrison continued. 6 months ago, I discovered Beverly could read lips. She'd been understanding every conversation in this house for 18 years, every business deal, every family argument, every private moment. Gregory and Jennifer exchanged glances. She never told anyone, never used the information, never asked for anything. Harrison's voice through Beverly's hands went softer. That kind of loyalty is worth more than money can buy, and I realized something. I'd been blind to the most trustworthy person in my life. Harrison's face on the screen looked tired. The kind of tired that comes from dying slowly over 4 months while chemotherapy burns through your veins and leaves you hollow. But his eyes were sharp, focused, the eyes of a man who built a $4 billion empire from a garage startup. Victoria, he said through Beverly's hands, this video isn't really about me. It's about you. And it's about the person translating for you right now. Victoria's hands stopped mid-sign, froze. The lawyers told you there are 5 questions you must answer to inherit. That's true, but I'm not going to ask you about this video. Beverly's hands slowed. Careful, making sure Victoria caught every word. I'm going to ask you about the person helping you. On screen, Harrison pulled out a piece of paper, read from it, making sure he got the words exactly right. Question 1. What is their full name? Victoria looked at Beverly. Signed, Beverly Nash. Question 2. How long have they worked for our family? 18 years. Question 3. What is one thing you know about their life outside this house? Victoria's hands froze, opened, closed, empty. Beverly kept signing Harrison's words, neutral, professional. Question 4. Have you ever asked them how they're doing in their language? Victoria's face crumpled, shook her head no. Question 5. If you inherit everything, what will you do to ensure they're never invisible again? The screen showed Harrison setting down the paper, looking directly at the camera. Those are the questions, Victoria. Notice what I didn't ask. I didn't ask what I said in this video. I didn't ask about my business. I didn't ask about money or companies or foundations. He leaned back, exhausted from the effort of sitting up. I asked about a person who's been in your life for 18 years. A person you see every day. A person who makes your breakfast and washes your clothes and keeps the house running while you live your life. Beverly's hands trembled, kept moving. If you can answer those 5 questions, you'll inherit everything. Not because you heard me, but because you saw someone. Harrison paused, took 3 slow breaths. The oxygen cannula in his nose whistled slightly with each inhale. I spent my life not seeing people, not seeing your mother until it was too late to tell her I loved her, not seeing you, even though you were right there. His hand moved slowly, shakily, formed a shape. The ASL sign for I love you. Index finger and pinky up, thumb out. Middle and ring fingers tucked. But the hand shape was wrong. Trembling, imperfect. The sign of a man who'd practiced 15 days before his body betrayed him. Victoria gasped, covered her mouth. I tried, Harrison said through Beverly's steady hands. I tried to learn your language. I failed, but I tried. On screen, Harrison's hand fell back to his lap. Spent. Now I'm going to do something I should have done when you were born. I'm going to trust someone else to help me communicate with you. He looked directly at the camera. Beverly Nash has been the invisible backbone of this family for 18 years. She heard my worst business deals and never leaked them. She watched me fail as a father and never judged. She kept every secret, asked for nothing. Gregory Matthews stood perfectly still, taking notes. In the yellow envelope on Gregory's desk, there's a check. It's made out to the person who helped Victoria hear me. The amount is $500,000. Beverly's hands stopped, restarted, made sure she'd signed the number right. $500,000. Victoria stared at Beverly. Beverly kept signing. "That's not payment for today," Harrison continued. "That's an apology for 18 years. 18 years of paying $28,000 annually to a woman who was worth 10 times that. 18 years of walking past her in the hallway without asking how her day was going." Harrison's voice cracked. He cleared his throat. Continued. "Victoria, you're about to inherit $4.3 billion. Money I made by working 80-hour weeks while your mother raised you. Money I chose over time with you. Money that means nothing if you don't have people around you who tell you the truth." He gestured to the notebook again. The ASL practice notebook. "I started learning sign language 8 months ago because Dr. Mitchell told me I had 6 months to live. I thought finally I'll be able to talk to my daughter properly. But cancer doesn't care about your timeline." Beverly's facial expression shifted. Grief, loss. The universal language of watching someone run out of time. Day 15, my hand started shaking too badly. I had to stop. I failed again. On screen, Harrison wiped his eyes. "But here's what I learned from failing. I learned that asking for help isn't weakness. It's the only way anything meaningful gets done." He pointed at the camera. "At Victoria. At the future. You're going to face a board of directors tomorrow. 18 men who've been waiting for me to die so they can control the foundation. They're going to try to sideline you. Tell you you're too young, too inexperienced." His voice got stronger, firmer. "If Beverly agrees, make her your director of accessibility. $250,000 a year, full benefits, equity stake in the foundation, not as charity, as correction, as what she should have been paid all along." Beverly's hands shook slightly, kept signing. "But only if she agrees. Ask her. Don't tell her. Don't assume. That's what I did wrong. I assumed people would just accept whatever I decided." Harrison looked off camera, at something or someone. A nurse, maybe. Nodded. Looked back. "I'm running out of time, sweetheart, both in this video and in general, so let me say the things I should have said 29 years ago." He spoke slowly now, making sure every word was clear. "I love you. I'm proud of you. You are smarter and kinder and stronger than I ever was." Victoria's tears fell freely now. "And I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't learn to speak your language. Sorry I chose work over you. Sorry I made you feel like you had to earn my attention." His hand moved to his chest, over his heart. "The money is yours. The company is yours. The foundation is yours. But the real inheritance I'm leaving you is this. The knowledge that the most valuable people in your life are often the ones society tells you to ignore." He looked straight at the camera, straight at his daughter. "Beverly Nash saved this inheritance for you today. Not because she had to, because she chose to, because Eleanor saw something in her 18 years ago that I only saw 6 months ago." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Beverly's hands slowed to match. "See the people around you, Victoria? Really see them. Ask their names, learn their stories, trust them with your truth." He smiled. Small, sad, real. "That's all I have. Gregory will pause here. You'll have 17 minutes to answer the 5 questions. If you answer them, you inherit. If you don't, the foundation gets everything, and you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what I wanted to tell you." Harrison lifted his shaking hand one more time, formed that imperfect ASL sign. "I love you." The screen went black. Timestamp. 12 minutes, 18 seconds. Beverly lowered her hands. The study was completely silent. Victoria sat motionless, staring at the blank screen where her father's face had been. Gregory checked his watch. 10:21 a.m. You have 17 minutes to answer the 5 questions, Miss Thornton. Jennifer Cooper pulled out a legal pad. For the record, you need to answer verbally or in writing. ASL is fine if I translate. Victoria didn't move. Gregory waited. 10 seconds, 20. Finally, Victoria turned to Beverly. Signed, "What's your full name?" Beverly signed back, "Beverly Ann Nash." Victoria's hands moved slowly. "How old are you?" 52. "Where were you born?" "Jackson, Mississippi." "Do you have family?" "My mother, Dorothy. She died 8 years ago, emphysema." "I'm sorry." "Thank you." Victoria looked down at her hands, back up at Beverly. "What's your favorite color?" Beverly blinked, surprised. "Green, like the magnolia trees back home." "Favorite food?" "My mama's fried okra. Can't get it right up here." "Do you like working here?" Beverly paused. Honest answer. "The work is good. The house is beautiful. Mrs. Eleanor made me feel welcome. And after she died, I stayed because I needed the job, because this was home, even if it didn't always feel like home." Victoria nodded slowly, turned to Gregory, signed, and Jennifer translated, "I'm ready to answer the 5 questions." Gregory Matthews opened his leather portfolio, pulled out a printed form, the official inheritance questionnaire Harrison had prepared with 3 independent attorneys 6 months ago. "Question 1, Gregory read. "What is the full name of the person who assisted you in comprehending this video?" Victoria spoke aloud, her voice rusty from disuse but clear. "Beverly Ann Nash." Gregory wrote it down, checked a box. "Question 2, how did this person come to be present during the video viewing?" Victoria paused, looked at Beverly. "She works here. She's worked here for 18 years. She was in the next room doing her job. I didn't ask her to be here. She chose to help." Gregory wrote, checked another box. "Question 3. What do you know about this person's life outside of their professional role in your household?" Victoria's voice wavered. "Until 10 minutes ago, almost nothing. She's 52, from Jackson, Mississippi. Her mother was Dorothy, who died 8 years ago from emphysema. Her favorite color is green. She misses her mother's fried okra." Beverly's eyes widened slightly. Victoria had been listening. Gregory nodded, wrote. "Question 4. Prior to today, had you ever communicated with this person in their native language about non-work-related matters?" Victoria's voice dropped. "No, never." And question 5. If you inherit the estate, what specific actions will you take to ensure this person is fairly compensated and treated with dignity going forward?" Victoria looked directly at Beverly, signed and spoke simultaneously. "I will offer Beverly the position of Director of Accessibility at Thornton Foundation. Salary of $250,000 per year, full benefits, equity stake as my father specified, but only if she accepts. I won't force anything. It's her choice." She took a breath. "I will also ask her to teach me what my father never learned, how to really see people, how to ask instead of assume, how to value loyalty over credentials." Gregory finished writing, set down his pen. "Those answers are sufficient to meet the codicil requirements. However, I need to verify the accuracy of the translation. Miss Nash, you claim you understood the entire video from the adjacent room before entering to assist?" "Yes, sir." "Can you prove that?" Beverly's hands moved calmly. "In the video, Mr. Harrison mentioned a conversation he had with you on October 15th of last year at 3:45 p.m. He said he discovered I could read lips. He asked you to change the codicil language to include assistance via any available means." Gregory's face went still. "That conversation was private. In this study, just Harrison and myself." "I was dusting the bookshelves, sir, 8 feet away. You were both facing the window. I read your lips in the reflection of the glass-framed painting on the west wall." Gregory opened his briefcase, pulled out his day planner from October 2024, flipped to the 15th, read his handwritten notes. 3:45 p.m. Harrison Thornton. Will revision. Discovered housekeeper has lip-reading ability. Insists on adding language. Comprehension may be achieved through any available means, including but not limited to assistive devices or human interpretation. Unusual request. Client seems emotional. He looked up at Beverly. "What else did we discuss?" Beverly signed, and Jennifer translated. Mr. Harrison said, "Gregory, I've been a coward. I built a $4 billion company, but I can't sign 'I love you' to my own daughter. I don't deserve this money. The only person in this house who deserves anything is Beverly. She's been invisible for 18 years and never complained, never asked for a raise, never gossiped about what she heard. If loyalty had a price, I couldn't afford her." The room went completely silent. Gregory flipped a page in his planner, found a second entry, his handwriting smaller in the margin. Harrison's exact words, he read aloud. I wrote them down because they struck me as significant. He closed the planner, looked at Beverly with something like awe. You've been the witness to this family for 18 years. I've been the housekeeper, sir. No, Gregory said quietly. You've been far more than that. Jennifer Cooper leaned forward. Miss Nash, I have to ask. You had access to privileged information, insider trading data, family secrets, business deals. Why didn't you ever use any of it? Beverly's answer came simple, honest. Mrs. Eleanor trusted me. That trust was worth more than any information I could have sold. Even when you were making $28,000 a year? Even then. Even when you had no health insurance and your mother was sick? Beverly's hands stilled, then moved again. Slower. My mama taught me something. She said, Beverly, there's two kinds of people in this world. People who take advantage when they get the chance, and people who keep their word even when it costs them. Mrs. Eleanor gave me her word that I was family. I gave her mine that I'd never betray this house. She paused. Mrs. Eleanor's gone, but my word isn't. Victoria stood up, walked to Beverly. They stood face to face, two deaf women, one who'd had everything, one who'd had almost nothing, both invisible in different ways. Victoria's hands moved. I owe you more than money. Beverly shook her head. You don't owe me anything, Miss Victoria. Your father already paid what he thought was fair. $500,000. For 18 years of loyalty. That's about $28,000 per year, the same as your salary. It's more money than I've ever had. It's not enough, Victoria signed. But it's what he could do from the grave. What I can do is different. She turned to Gregory. Draft the paperwork. Director of Accessibility, $250,000 annually. Full benefits, 10% equity stake in Thornton Foundation, starting Monday. Miss Thornton, Gregory said carefully, the board meeting is tomorrow at 9 a.m. If you announce this appointment, there will be pushback. Questions about nepotism, qualification, conflict of interest. Let them question, Victoria said, her voice stronger now. Beverly Nash just saved a $4 billion inheritance using a skill she taught herself at 17 because my family's world doesn't accommodate people like her. If that's not qualified, I don't know what is. Gregory made a note. I'll have the contracts ready by Monday morning. Victoria turned back to Beverly. You haven't said yes. Beverly's hands stayed still for a long moment. Why me? She finally signed. You could hire someone with credentials, experience, education. I could, Victoria agreed. But they wouldn't be you. They wouldn't be someone who kept our secrets for 18 years, someone my mother trusted, someone my father finally learned to see. Beverly looked around the study. 18 years of cleaning this room, dusting these bookshelves, polishing this desk, invisible. Can I think about it? She signed. Of course. How long do I have? Victoria smiled. Small, real. As long as you need, but the board meeting is tomorrow at 9. If you're there, it sends a message. What message? That the Thornton Foundation sees people like us now. Really sees us. Beverly nodded slowly. I'll give you my answer tonight. 6 p.m. The February sun had set an hour ago. The Thornton estate glowed with warm light from dozens of windows. 14,000 square feet of wealth and history and invisible labor. Beverly sat in her third-floor room, 180 square feet, a single bed, a small desk, a window that looked out over the driveway so she could see when the family needed anything. 18 years in this room. On the desk sat an envelope, yellow, thick. Gregory Matthews had delivered it an hour ago with a simple note in Harrison's handwriting. For Beverly Nash, with gratitude for 18 years of loyalty and apology for 18 years of blindness. Inside, a check, $500,000. Beverly stared at it. More money than her mother had made in her entire life. More money than Beverly had ever imagined having. She could leave tomorrow, buy a house in Jackson, live comfortably for the rest of her life, never clean another person's study, never stand invisible in a room full of people who didn't see her. Her phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. The first text Victoria had ever sent her directly. No pressure. Whatever you decide, the check is yours. You earned it. V. Beverly set down the phone, looked around her small room. 18 years. She remembered her first day. Eleanor writing on that yellow notepad. Your family. She remembered Eleanor's funeral, standing in the back. Not family after all. She remembered 1,000 invisible mornings, cleaning while Harrison worked, bringing Victoria her laundry while Victoria studied, making coffee nobody thanked her for. But she also remembered moments nobody saw. Victoria at 13, crying in her room after a fight with Harrison about college. Beverly had brought her tissues, sat with her for 10 minutes. Didn't say anything, just sat. Harrison at 62, 3 days after Eleanor died, standing in the study at midnight, staring at nothing. Beverly had walked past, seen him, quietly made him tea, left it on his desk. He'd drunk it without knowing who made it. Small moments, invisible kindnesses, the kind that don't get recorded in wills or contracts or inheritance disputes, the kind that made a house a home. Her phone buzzed again, not Victoria this time, a number she didn't recognize. She answered with the video phone app. A woman appeared on screen, older, black, signing in ASL. Beverly Nash? Yes? My name is Patricia Williams. I'm the president of the National Association of the Deaf. I heard about what happened today. Beverly blinked. How did you... Jennifer Cooper is on our advisory board. She called me. Said you might need someone to talk to. Patricia's face was kind, knowing. I heard you taught yourself to lip read at 17 in Jackson, Mississippi. Yes, ma'am. I heard you've been working as a housekeeper for 18 years while having skills that could have earned you 6 figures as a professional interpreter. Beverly nodded. I heard you just turned down $500,000 and a job offer to take time to think. I didn't turn it down. I just need time to... To what? Beverly, do you know how rare you are? Ma'am? Patricia leaned forward. A deaf black woman from rural Mississippi who taught herself lip reading to 90% accuracy, who kept 18 years of privileged information confidential, who stepped up to save a billionaire's inheritance not because you had to, but because it was right. She paused. The Thornton Foundation has an endowment of $2 billion. If Victoria Thornton is serious about accessibility and you're the director, you could change the lives of thousands of deaf children who grow up in places like Jackson. Places where there's no deaf school, no interpreters, no support. Beverly's hands stilled. I've been doing this work for 30 years, Patricia continued. Fighting for funding, fighting for recognition, fighting to make people understand that deaf children need the same opportunities as hearing children. Do you know what we could do with a foundation that size behind us? I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than anyone I know. You survived in a hearing world with nothing but your own resourcefulness. You know what it's like to be invisible, to be underestimated, to have skills nobody recognizes because they're not written on a resume. Patricia's face softened. Beverly, I'm not telling you what to do, but I am telling you that if you take this job, you won't be doing it alone. The entire deaf community will be behind you. We'll help you learn the administrative stuff, the board management, the politics. Why? Beverly signed. Why would you help me? Because you're one of us, and because Eleanor Thornton was right. You do understand Victoria in ways hearing people never will. That's not a weakness. It's a superpower. The call ended. Beverly sat in the quiet of her small room, thought about her mother, Dorothy Nash, who'd worked as a domestic worker for 40 years, who'd cleaned houses in Jackson for families who never learned her name, who died at 68 with $1,200 in her savings account and a funeral bill she couldn't pay. Beverly had paid that bill with money she'd saved from her Thornton salary, $2,000, almost 3 months of work. She thought about Eleanor, who'd hired Beverly not just for housekeeping, but to give Victoria a mirror, someone deaf in a hearing household, someone who understood. She thought about Harrison, who'd spent 18 years not seeing her, then 6 months trying to make amends, who'd designed an entire inheritance test around forcing his daughter to finally look at the invisible woman in their house. And she thought about Victoria, 29 years old, about to inherit $4 billion, about to face a board of 18 men who would try to control her, sideline her, make decisions for her. Victoria needed an ally, not a yes woman, an ally who would tell her the truth, who couldn't be bought or intimidated, who understood what it meant to be underestimated. Beverly picked up her phone, texted Victoria. I'll take the job, but I have 3 conditions. 3 dots appeared. Victoria was typing. Name them. 1. I report to you, not the board. If they want me gone, you're the only one who can fire me. Agreed. 2. We start a scholarship fund for deaf children in rural areas. Full funding, educational support, ASL resources, named after Eleanor Thornton. 3 dots. Longer pause. That's beautiful. Yes. What's the third condition? Beverly typed slowly. You teach me how to be a director, and I teach you how to see people. Deal? The response came fast. Deal. Board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Wear something that makes you feel powerful. We're going to war. Beverly smiled, set down the phone, looked at the check on her desk. $500,000. Her mother's voice from years ago. There's 2 kinds of people, baby. People who take what they can get, and people who build something that lasts. Beverly opened her closet. Found the navy blue dress she'd bought 3 years ago for Eleanor's memorial service. Never worn it since. Too formal for housekeeping, perfect for tomorrow. She laid it out on the bed. 18 years of invisible mornings, tomorrow she'd be visible, and she was terrified. And she was ready. 9 a.m., the Thornton Foundation boardroom, 23rd floor of a Manhattan high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. A table of Italian marble that cost more than Beverly's entire lifetime earnings. 18 men in suits, median age 62, median net worth $800 million, 0 deaf, 0 black, 0 women until today. Victoria sat at the head of the table, her father's chair, the one Harrison Thornton had occupied for 38 years. Beverly sat to her right, the director's chair, empty since the foundation's founding. Every eye in the room was on Beverly. Gregory Matthews made introductions. Gentlemen, this is Beverly Nash. Miss Thornton has appointed her as the new Director of Accessibility for Thornton Foundation, effective immediately. A man at the far end spoke. William Bradford, 70 years old, Harvard Law, on the board since 1992. With all due respect, Victoria, we should have been consulted on this appointment. The board has approval authority over C-suite positions. Victoria's voice came clear. Strong. The foundation bylaws give the principal heir unilateral authority to appoint a director of accessibility. My father added that provision 6 months ago. Check Article 7, Section 3. Gregory slid copies of the bylaws across the table. Bradford flipped pages, found it. His jaw tightened. Another board member spoke. Charles Morrison, real estate developer, friend of Harrison's for 20 years. Victoria, I'm sure Miss Nash is a lovely person, but does she have any experience in nonprofit management, accessibility consulting, board governance? Beverly's hands started to move. Victoria translated. Miss Nash says no, she doesn't have those credentials. What she has is 35 years of experience navigating a world that wasn't built for her, 18 years of working in this family while being completely invisible, and the loyalty to keep every secret she heard without asking for anything in return. Morrison frowned. That's admirable, but running a $2 billion foundation requires understanding the people we're supposed to serve, Victoria interrupted. How many of you have ever had a conversation with a deaf person in ASL? Silence. How many of you know what it's like to walk into a building and realize there's no visual fire alarm, no captions on the emergency announcements, no way to call for help if something goes wrong? More silence. Beverly knows. She's lived it for 52 years. Bradford leaned forward. Victoria, this is clearly an emotional decision. Your father just died. You're grieving. But the foundation has responsibilities, donors, grant recipients. We can't make leadership appointments based on sentiment. Beverly's hands moved, fast, angry. Victoria translated, her voice sharp. Miss Nash wants to know if you thought her father's appointment of his college roommate to VP of Operations in 2006 was based on sentiment. Or was that just good business? Bradford's face went red. Another board member tried a different approach. Richard Sullivan, investment banker, smooth. Miss Nash, I'm sure you understand our concern. The foundation grants $50 million annually. We need someone with fundraising experience, grant management, strategic planning. Beverly stood up, walked to the presentation screen at the end of the table, pulled out a USB drive, plugged it in. A PowerPoint appeared. Victoria's eyes went wide. When did you? Beverly's hands moved. Last night, 3 a.m., I couldn't sleep. She clicked to the first slide. Thornton Foundation Accessibility Initiative, proposed budget $25 million annually. The board members leaned forward. Next slide. Target population, deaf and hard of hearing children in rural areas. Current services available, minimal to none. Next slide. Jackson, Mississippi, population 150,000, deaf school closed in 2008 due to budget cuts. Nearest ASL resources 120 miles away. Transportation, unavailable for low-income families. Next slide. Proposed solution, mobile ASL education units, satellite resource centers, remote learning technology, full scholarships for deaf educators. She clicked through 12 more slides. Statistics, budget breakdowns, implementation timelines, partnership opportunities with the National Association of the Deaf. The board members sat in stunned silence. Beverly returned to her seat. Signed to Victoria. I called Patricia Williams at midnight. She sent me 20 years of research. I spent 4 hours learning how to make a PowerPoint. The plan isn't perfect, but it's a start, Victoria translated. Then added, Gentlemen, Beverly Nash put together this proposal in one night. With no experience, no staff, no administrative support. Imagine what she'll do with resources. Bradford cleared his throat. It's impressive, but the foundation has existing commitments, which we'll honor, Victoria said. This is additional funding. I'm contributing $500 million from my personal inheritance to endow the Eleanor Thornton Accessibility Fund. Beverly will direct it. The room erupted. $500 million? That's 10% of the estate. Victoria, you need to think about this. Victoria stood. Her father's daughter. Her mother's strength. I've thought about it. For the last 29 years, actually. My mother spent her life making me feel seen. My father spent his life making money. Beverly Nash spent 18 years being invisible while keeping our family together. She looked around the table. The vote is simple. Approve Beverly's appointment as Director of Accessibility, or I resign as Principal Heir, and the foundation goes into probate for the next 5 years while lawyers fight over my father's intent. Gregory Matthews spoke quietly. She has that authority under the codicil. If the primary heir resigns within the first year, the entire will becomes contestable. Bradford knew when he was beaten. All in favor of approving Beverly Nash as Director of Accessibility? 18 hands went up. Some reluctant, some genuine, all up. Motion carries, Bradford said. Beverly exhaled. Victoria reached over, squeezed her hand. They'd won. The foundation was theirs, and the real work was about to begin. 3 months later, the Eleanor Thornton Accessibility Center opened in Jackson, Mississippi, a building that looked nothing like the Thornton estate. Simple, functional, beautiful in its purpose. Inside, 30 deaf children attended their first day of ASL classes, free of charge, full support services, transportation provided. Beverly stood in the doorway, watching. A little girl, maybe 7, signed to her mother. I can learn here. Every day, baby. The girl's face lit up, the way Victoria's face had never lit up as a child, because Victoria had resources. This little girl hadn't. Until now. Victoria stood beside Beverly, signed, Your mother would be proud. Yours too. They watched in comfortable silence. 2 deaf women who'd spent years invisible in different ways, both visible now, both using that visibility for something that mattered. Beverly's phone buzzed, a message from Thomas Wheeler at the estate. Your new office is ready. When you coming back? Beverly smiled, typed back, Next week. Mississippi needs me a few more days. She'd kept her room on the 3rd floor, 180 square feet, but she'd also been given an office on the 1st floor, next to Victoria's, same size, same windows, same respect. She split her time now, half in Connecticut running the foundation's accessibility programs, half traveling to places like Jackson, making sure the resources actually reached the people who needed them. The salary helped. $250,000 a year meant she could hire staff, fund programs, make a difference. But the real payment was this, watching that 7-year-old girl sign thank you to her teacher, knowing that somewhere Eleanor Thornton was smiling. Victoria turned to Beverly. Ready to go home? Beverly looked at the Accessibility Center, at Jackson, at the town where she'd grown up invisible. Looked at Victoria, at the woman who'd finally learned to see. Yeah, she signed. Let's go home. If this story reminded you that the people we overlook often have the most to teach us, A quick like and subscribe helps us tell more stories about seeing each other, really seeing each other.